What are you gonna do? Sometimes you just roll low stats in this game, and there is definitely potential to that. But whether or not you should use this opportunity to play a low stat character, well, that depends on a few features, and of course the major one being the class that you pick or want to play. So let's talk about what, in my experience, are the best classes to play when you roll low stats. First thing, let's decide whether or not we even want to play a low stat character. Low stat characters are not for everyone, and by the end of this video, you should have a better idea of what that really means. But to start off with, I just want to put to rest the idea that if you roll low stats, you need to keep the character. I've seen a lot of peer pressure going around in the D&D community regarding keep your rolls and low stats are a blessing and this and that, and I just want to be the person to say that you don't need to keep your character if your stats are low, and if the stats that you rolled aren't part of the character that you had in mind or the character that you just want to play. So if you don't want to play a low stat character, just let your DM know, and I think that for the most part, either they're going to let you re-roll or you're just going to make another character. Either way, you kind of nip this in the bud. Better to do it now than a few sessions down the line when you realize you're not having fun. If you take a look over to this tier list over here, you'll see, in my personal opinion, what classes I think are best for low stat play. At the bottom of the list, you can see that we have Ranger, Monk, Paladin, and Sorcerer. And this is because, in my experience playing D&D, most of those classes' oomph and power comes from their ability to affect enemies. And if you have low stats, those are going to be behind the rest of your party members. So we are going to want to focus on abilities that have guaranteed value. And in my experience, these classes tend to have the least amount of those things. You know, Monks do have the Patient Defense, Rangers have Pass Without Trace, Paladins have Lay on Hands, and Sorcerers may have fun little meta magic options and concentration spells, but for the most part, they fall behind the rest of these classes. Next up, we have Warlock, Wizard, and Fighter. Warlock, because there are a lot of Eldritch invocations and class features that can give you a lot of bang for your buck and guaranteed value without needing to worry about attacks or saving throws. There is a good amount of value to be found in the Warlock's kit. Next, we have Wizard, which, while it does suffer from similar downsides as the Sorcerer, its spell versatility and subclass options definitely rank it one tier above. Fighters, while arguably being the most versatile class in D&D, tend to still get most of their value from hitting things, and if you have low stats, you can count on that not happening as often as you would like. So even though the fighter tends to have a lot more hit points and of course action surge to add in a little bit more attacks to the economy and even out the to hit ratio, all of the misses that are going to come along with it tend to make it not work out in my experience. Next up, we have Rogue and Barbarian. Rogues are a solid pick for low stat characters, mostly because of their ability to consistently attack with advantage and because of their expertise feature. And the Rogue's expertise will allow you to pick a skill to specialize in and allow you to contribute to the party in some way. It will allow you to, fulfill a purpose and still feel cool in certain moments, even if you may not excel at other things. Next up, we have Barbarian. Barbarians, much like rogues, can consistently attack with advantage due to reckless attack, and they also have rage, which should allow them to get that little bit of extra damage, as well as that massive damage reduction that will allow you to provide value in the form of basically being the tank. And of course, you have those juicy D12 hit points to look forward to, which, even if you have low constitution, still should be pretty impressive. Also, in my experience, Barbarians just tend to lend itself well to a simpler character. And if you have low stats, generally speaking, you're going to want to pick a couple of things that you are really good at. And Barbarians, they hit things. They hit things very hard. And even if you have low strength, which would kind of make this a little tougher, with that rage ability, as well as maybe some proper RPing, you can absolutely play low stats on a Barbarian a lot easier than some of these other classes. Next up, we have the Druid. The Druid is probably one of the best classes to play for low stat characters, mostly because, in my humble opinion, the Druid subclasses allow for probably the most guaranteed value across the board in all of D&D. The two that come to mind, of course, are the Circle of the Moon Shepherd, which would allow you to turn into creatures and take their stats so you can be good in combat that way, as well as maybe have some other cool RP moments because you're an animal. And of course, the other one is the Circle of the Shepherd that will allow you to summon things that have good stats and good spells and good basically everything. Oh my god, that class is so insane. PTSD. Anyway. And at the top of the list, we have the Cleric and the Bard. And it should be no surprise that these two are at the top of the list, mostly because if you're playing this game, support abilities, you don't really need to have good stats in order to get a lot of value out of them. And the Cleric and the Bard probably have the best supportive abilities in the game. The Druid probably is a strong contender, but these two I think beat them out. Regardless of the Cleric subclass that you choose, between their spell list and their Channel Divinity features, you will have a bunch of opportunities to contribute positively to your party, regardless of what your stats are. In the case of low stats, the Bard's subclass feature matters a lot more than the Cleric's, but you cannot deny the value that that amazing Bardic Inspiration has on any situation that you use it in. Bardic Inspiration, as well as skill proficiencies and potentially expertise, make this a top tier pick for low skill builds. And I just realized that Artificer isn't on this list, so we are going to put it into, I'll say, what the heck? We'll put it into C tier. We'll be generous. Just because of the ability to be proficient in tools and the RP potential for creating inventions and things like that with those tools. Overall, Artificer would rank pretty low if you don't have the stats to play him. So there you have it. I hope this helps someone in their D&D character creation experience in some way, shape, or form. If so, let me know what you did down below, or if you disagree or agree, yada, 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 all that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, cheers.